Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that so many English learners are concerned about: how to speak fluent English. Whether you're just starting out or have been learning for a while, becoming fluent is probably one of your biggest goals. But let's be honest, it's not always easy. There are fears, insecurities, and doubts that can hold us back. So, in this episode, I want to share some advice on how to overcome these obstacles and improve your fluency. Let's start with one of the most common fears people have when speaking English: the fear of making mistakes. This fear can paralyze us and prevent us from ever speaking. But let me ask you something. How do you expect to get better if you don't make mistakes? Making mistakes is a natural part of the learning process. It's how we grow and improve. So, my first piece of advice is don't be afraid of losing face. Don't be afraid of making mistakes because every mistake brings you one step closer to mastering the language. I know it's easier said than done. Many of us are afraid of being laughed at or judged when we speak in English. We feel ashamed if we mispronounce a word or use the wrong grammar. But let me tell you this: nobody becomes fluent overnight. Every fluent speaker you know today, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or a celebrity, has been through that same struggle. They've made mistakes, felt embarrassed, and been laughed at. But what's important is that they didn't let that stop them, and neither should you. It's natural to feel self-conscious, but remember, the only real shame is never opening your mouth at all. The only way to learn English is to speak it, to practice it, and to make those mistakes. Think about when you were a child learning your native language. Did you speak perfectly from the start? Of course not. You learned through trial and error, and the same applies to English. So, my second piece of advice is don't be ashamed of speaking poor English. Everyone starts somewhere, and with time and practice, you will improve. Another thing that can hold us back is the fear of being stared at. You might worry about people's reactions, especially if you're speaking English in a non-English speaking country. But here's the thing: people aren't as critical as we imagine. Most of the time, they're actually impressed that you're making the effort to learn another language, so don't be ashamed of being stared at. If anything, take it as a compliment. It means you're doing something brave and stepping outside your comfort zone. Now let's talk about what it really takes to speak fluent English. One of the most important things is consistency. You have to practice regularly and you have to challenge yourself to speak, even when you're unsure. It's like working out. If you only go to the gym once a month, you won't see any progress. But if you go a few times a week and push yourself, you'll notice changes. The same principle applies to language learning. Practice makes progress, and the more you practice, the more confident you'll become. Another key element is exposure. If you want to speak fluent English, you need to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. Listen to English podcasts, watch English movies, and read English books. Surround yourself with the language. The more you hear and read, the more natural it will feel when you speak. And when you do speak, don't just focus on individual words. Try to think in full sentences. This will help you develop more natural, fluid speech patterns. One thing that can really accelerate your progress is speaking with native speakers or other fluent English speakers. I know this can feel intimidating, but it's one of the best ways to improve. Native speakers can correct your mistakes and give you feedback that you might not get otherwise. If you don't have access to native speakers in person, there are plenty of online platforms where you can connect with language partners. Don't be shy. Just jump in and start a conversation. The more you engage with native speakers, the faster you'll improve. Another tip that might surprise you is to focus on listening before speaking. A lot of learners want to jump straight into speaking, but listening is just as important. By listening carefully to how native speakers use intonation, stress, and rhythm, you can improve your own speaking skills. Pay attention to how they form sentences, how they pause, and how they emphasize certain words. This will help you sound more natural when you speak. So, next time you're watching an English show or listening to a podcast, really focus on the way the speakers talk. Mimic their speech and try to incorporate it into your own practice. Now, I want to address a mindset that's crucial for your success. It's never too late to start. No matter your age or current level of English, you can always improve. Some people think that after a certain age, it's impossible to become fluent in a new language, but that's simply not true. With determination and consistent practice, you can make progress at any stage of life. Don't let self-doubt hold you back. If you want to change your life, start now. Start today. Take small steps, and over time, you'll see big improvements. Let's not forget the power of motivation and positive thinking. Speaking English fluently takes time and effort, but you can do it. Every time you feel discouraged or frustrated, remind yourself of your goals. Why do you want to speak fluent English? Is it to advance your career, to travel the world, to connect with people from different cultures? Keep those goals in mind, and they will fuel your motivation. And remember, no pain, no gain. Fluency doesn't come easy, but it's worth the effort. As we approach the end of today's episode, let's quickly recap the key points. 1, don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's part of the learning process. 2, don't be ashamed of speaking poor English. Everyone starts somewhere. 3, practice consistently. Make speaking English a regular part of your life. 4, immerse yourself in the language. Surround yourself with English as much as possible. 5, engage with native speakers. Don't be afraid to practice with others. 6, focus on listening. Pay attention to how native speakers talk and mimic their patterns. 7, it's never too late to start. No matter your age or level, you can improve. 8, stay motivated and positive. Keep your goals in mind and remind yourself why you're learning. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and effort, but I know you can do it. You're already on the right path by listening to this podcast and seeking out ways to improve. So keep going. Don't give up, don't be afraid, and most importantly, believe in yourself. You're great, and you can achieve your English speaking goals. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. If you have any questions or need more advice, feel free to reach out. And remember, the only way to learn English is to open your mouth and speak. Until next time, keep practicing, stay motivated, and I'll see you on your journey to fluency.